Hi, I'm Bart Hanson for CrushLivePoker.com. This is the only training site exclusively made to help you win big at live no-limit cash games. Let's take a look at some sample content. So let's take a look here at this particular hand, which was maybe about an hour into the session of this 2550 game at live at the bike. And you can see here in the small blind over in seat number 3, I'm struggling with my pocket a little bit. And we see Barry Woods, he's going to open it up here for a raise with pocket queens to 150, which has been but probably about like the standard sizing. I'm going to call here in the small blind with about $19,000 with ace deuce suited. Barry and Mike are both about 100 big blinds deep, and we're going to see this spot 3 ways here to the flop. Ace 9-8 with a couple of clubs. Obviously, this is not the best flop here for Barry when he gets 2 callers. I'm gonna have a reasonable hand here on the small blind as well. You know, we talked about how you can certainly defend the big blind wide when you don't have anybody to your left, but I think I'm going to be much tighter here in the small blind. So with this texture, there's all kinds of draws out there. Barry could have the best hand, but I think that checking is the right play and kind of seeing what develops, and that's what he does. He does check. Armenian Mike over here with ace jack, he's going to bet 300 into the pot here, 300 into 500. And I know Mike is tight, so right now I'm not super thrilled about this particular spot, but I'm still going to continue on. I could have the best hand. Mike could be betting a draw. He might have a 9, you know, who knows. Barry's checked, so that's usually indicative that he's not going to have an ace. So I make the $300 call, and now Barry is just forced to really get out of the way. There's nothing he can do. He looks disgusted and he folds, but it's the correct fold. So now we're heads up, me in the small blind against the field caller. Turns a 6 of diamonds, and it brings out a backdoor diamond draw here as well. So we've got front door clubs, and we have backdoor diamonds. I check, and Mike Metza makes a really, really small bet here of 300, and this is pretty important. Again, I'm not loving this spot. I am getting about 5 to 1, and I have seen Mike kind of bet with worse hands for protection, like a 9. It's debatable whether he would bet a 9 or not, but for this price, I just don't think I can fold right now. If he had bet more like 5 or 600, knowing his MO, I probably would fold. I mean, even if I'm behind, even if I'm ahead of like a 15-out draw, if you look at the range of hands, a bigger ace, I've got the worst ace. 2 pair now comes in, straights now come in if you had a hand like 7-10 or 5-7, 8-6 of clubs, something like that. But I decided to call here once again. Again, getting about 5 to 1 here, and I do make the call. So the pot now is 1,700, and we're going to get a very interesting river here, as you can see, and it's the 5 of clubs. Now, I think that a lot of players in my spot will just check, hope it gets checked down, and then the guy turns over ace jack, he'll check it back, and you're like, oh, well, that's what you get for playing like, ace x suited from out of position. You're out kicked. But one of the things that started to go through my head, I wasn't necessarily planning on bluffing front door clubs at the end, but with Mike's turn sizing, I just did not think that he ever really had a draw, and I didn't think his hand was that strong. I don't think he bets 300 with 2 pair. I don't think he bets 300 with even a stronger hand like a straight or something like that. He's going to want to protect against the draws, and you will see recreational players protect their hand instead of betting for value. They don't want to get a bad beat. So really his turn sizing is indicative of a medium strength hand, which is what he has in ace jack. Once I discount the fact that he has 2 pair or that he's betting a draw. Now, if he's betting a draw, I think he's going to bet larger too, because he's going to want to add some fold equity. He's not going to bet 300 to try to get somebody off of an ace. So I've dismissed the strong hands. I've also dismissed the draws. I just think that it would be like leaving money on the table if I just checked here and let him check back ace jack, I think that the 5 of clubs is so good for my range in the small blind of calling and calling that this is just too good of a spot for me not to turn my hand into a bluff here. Front door clubs have come in. Any 7 here is a straight. If I had called with, any of those middling cards, out of the small blind, I have those hands. I actually do bet pretty thin for value. If I had a 5 is it's pretty difficult for me to run into 2 pair here with a 5 unless I had some, with the club coming in. I'm trying to even invent a hand here that I could have with a 5, maybe ace 5 or something like that. But a lot of players aren't really thinking through that at this level. That is a really, really good card for my range here. And I think it's going to be very difficult for him to call with a single paired ace. So I decide to come out here and bet just over 1,000. And this is just a play that you will not see at the lower levels. People do not recognize spots where they should turn top pair into a bluff. And there are even spots when you can turn hands that are even better than top pair into a bluff. And when you're playing against opponents that don't do that, you can actually really, really, read their hand quite easily, because if you can dismiss the fact that somebody's turning a hand into a bluff if you thought they had top pair and then they're betting, well, that's going to make their range even thinner. It's they're going to have a couple of different hands. You see here that I bet 1,050 and Mike doesn't even think too long about it and he folds. And I know Mike plays a fair amount of 10-20. He's not really a big calling station and he hates to pay off regulars. So I just thought this was a really, really good spot for me, and it ended up working out quite well.
I feel like Bart took me to the next level by really focusing on my post-flop hand reading abilities. Like nowadays, everybody knows how to play pre-flop, but Bart has a really, really good sense of board textures and post-flop hand reading, and he just pretty much always knows where he's at, and it really helped my game a lot.
There were a lot of things that I didn't know, and the most important thing at first that he taught me was how not to overplay hands.
Since Black Friday, I've been transitioning to playing more live, and that's where I think Bart's training material really shines, is teaching you how to play specifically live cash game. I think it's fantastic.
That's just a small sampling of the training material that we have on CrushLivePoker.com. To take a look at full-length samples, you can click on the film icon or the headset above the video player. The podcasts and the videos come out on a weekly basis. To get access to everything, just click on subscribe now. I guarantee you, if you follow the tools given on this website, you will drastically increase your win rate at live no-limit cash games. Good luck at the tables.